Are you drowning in a sea of red? Last time we talked about how to manage our inbox using a system called Getting Things Done. In this video, we're going to talk about how to manage the tasks that arrive every single day and that you have to constantly prioritize. We use a tool called Asana for our task management, but the way we go through this today is applicable to any tool, whether that's Outlook or another project management system. Often what happens with any system that manages tasks is over time, tasks are not updated, due dates are not changed, and you are confronted with what I call a sea of red. That is a lengthy list of overdue projects that have the due date in red. To successfully manage your tasks, you must have a process where you're continually updating the due dates. Now, those due dates might be driven by your own priorities, or those due dates might be driven by the priorities of different projects. I'm going to walk you through this in Asana. There are two things that I do every single day. At the beginning of the day, I review the tasks for the day, organize them, and frequently I'll put a task in the calendar associated with a block of time. And the very last thing I do every single day is I reorganize my tasks with new due dates and priorities. Now you'll see on the screen right now a list of tasks. It's a sea of red. And I'm going to walk through these and logically organize them. When I have a project-oriented task that is way overdue, my next step is I'm going to contact the client or the project manager to determine when this really needs to be due. Now, while I'm waiting on hearing back from the client or project manager, I'm going to set a due date into the future so that I can check back in on it later. If I come across a task that is no longer necessary, either I've already done it or I don't need to do it at all, I will mark it complete and I'll typically put a note in the comments section of that task for the reason why I marked it complete. Sometimes I'll delete a task, but more often than not, I'm going to mark it complete with a comment so they still have a history of that task. If I come across a task that has a short list for today and it's really old, I'm going to remove the tag for the short list because it's really not necessary. And I guess it's a good time to bring up the concept of tags. When I manage my tasks, I like to tag them with different types of tags. One of them is the one I mentioned, short list for today. Another tag that I might use is a critical one. And I'm very careful about how I use these. This way I can list or filter my tasks by those tags. A final tag that I use very frequently is client owes us. Say you have a task assigned to you that you really need to work and it's overdue, but you know you're waiting on the client. The easiest way to keep track of all those is just to tag it with client owes us. That way you know from time to time you can check up on it and check up with the client to see if they've given you what you needed. If I stumble across a block of tasks, several tasks for an individual project or client, I will put those all due on the same future date, and then I'll likely put a block of time in my calendar to work all of those tasks. This allows me to complete a client's set of tasks as a single grouping. It also allows me to be a lot more productive and a lot more efficient in my work. Instead of jumping around from project to project, I get one project's block of tasks done in all one sitting. Once I have all my tasks in a position where they're due today or in the future, I'm finished with that step. Now, sometimes I will look at the tasks for tomorrow and reorganize them. For example, when I'm doing task processing at the end of every single day, that is the last thing I do before I end my workday, I will look at what I have assigned for tomorrow, and those tomorrow tasks I may reorganize or I may push to other dates. Sometimes it's not practical to get all those done tomorrow. What I'll also look at is the priority of those. So I might choose a few tasks that are due tomorrow and I might tag them with critical, or I might tag them with today. For example, I will tag one with the shortlist for today on the tomorrow list. And that's it. I've managed my tasks. I'm ready for the next day. Hopefully this is helpful. If you use different tools, it might be different a little bit, but you should be able to follow the same methodology. The key here with task management is to manage your tasks twice a day. At the very end of the day, the last thing you do, you should push everything into the next day and the future, planning for when you're going to do something. And at the beginning of the day when you start, you do another pass where you may reorganize things if some priorities may have changed. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.